He was crowned the NHL's best goalie, sweeping every major award, carrying Montreal to the brink of a Stanley Cup, and redefining what greatness looked like on the ice. Then, at the height of his powers, Carey Price vanished from the league. How does the most unflappable legend in hockey go from unbreakable to absent almost overnight? The answer begins in a remote corner of British Columbia and reveals just how quickly everything can change at the very top. Anaheim Lake sits deep in British Columbia's interior, hundreds of kilometers from the nearest city. For Carey Price, every practice meant a 6-hour drive or, on some days, flying in a small bush plane piloted by his father Jerry. The rinks were far, the winters harsh, and the odds of producing a future NHL star almost non-existent. But Jerry, himself a former goaltender, believed his son could handle more than the isolation. Early coaches remember Carey's calm, even at age 10, as something different, a quiet that settled the whole team. By his teens, Price was starring with the Tri-City Americans in the Western Hockey League, earning praise for his technical precision and an almost eerie ability to smother rebounds. Scouts described him as unflappable, economical, never wasting a movement. In 2005, Montreal called his name 5th overall at the NHL draft, betting their future on a teenager from a town most had never heard of. The expectations were immediate and enormous. 2 years later, Price turned pro with the Hamilton Bulldogs of the AHL. In his first playoff run, he posted a .936 save percentage and a 2.05 goals against average, backstopping Hamilton to the Calder Cup and claiming playoff MVP honors. Coaches stopped asking if he was ready and started wondering how soon he would be the answer in Montreal. For a franchise built on legends, Price's arrival was not just hope. It was proof that greatness can come from the most unlikely places if you are willing to go the distance. In the spring of 2015, Carey Price stood alone atop the hockey world. Over 66 games, he posted 44 wins, a .933 save percentage, and a goals against average under 2. The numbers told one story, but the nightly evidence was even more convincing. Opponents found rebounds simply vanished into his pads. Teammates spoke of a calm that made pressure disappear. Price didn't just stop pucks, he controlled the pace of the entire game. For months, he made the impossible seem routine. That season, Price swept the NHL's highest honors, the Hart Trophy as league MVP, the Vezina as best goaltender, the Ted Lindsay as the player's choice, and the Jennings for fewest goals allowed. No goalie had claimed this combination since Dominik Hasek in the 1990s. Coaches and analysts ran out of ways to describe his technical mastery. Stephanie Waite, Montreal's goalie coach, called Price the master of simplicity, pointing to his ability to read plays before they happened and erase second chances with effortless movement. Media and players alike agreed. This was the standard every goalie would chase. Price's presence in net meant Montreal was never out of a game, no matter the opponent or the odds. In a league built on chaos, he brought order. The 2014 to 2015 season didn't just cement his reputation, it redefined what dominance in the crease could look like. For 1 year, perfection felt ordinary, and the bar for greatness moved higher than ever before. At age 33, Carey Price was supposed to be past his prime. Instead, he carried Montreal through one of the most dramatic playoff runs in recent memory. The 2021 postseason began with the Canadiens as heavy underdogs. Facing Toronto, Price delivered in the moments that mattered most. Game 5, then Game 7, shutting the door on a team loaded with firepower. Each elimination game brought the same picture. Price tracking pucks through chaos, refusing rebounds, and staring down shooters who had no answers. Against Winnipeg, the sweep was surgical. Price's gloves seemed to find every dangerous shot, his composure outlasting every rush. The Vegas series demanded even more. Pucks deflected off skates, bodies crashed the crease, but Price's reads and patience never wavered. In overtime of Game 6, he turned aside a flurry of chances, holding the line long enough for Montreal to punch their ticket to the final. His .924 save percentage across 22 playoff games became a rallying point, not just for fans, but for the locker room itself. Brendan Gallagher, a longtime teammate, summed it up. "We knew we had a chance every night he was in net, even when he was hurt." Price's presence steadied a young roster and made every opponent look ordinary. Tampa Bay finally solved the puzzle in the final, but the run had already answered every question about his ceiling. Even at an age when most goalies fade, Price's best could still pull a team within reach of the Stanley Cup. By the summer of 2021, the story of Carey Price's knee had shifted from routine maintenance to a medical reckoning. What began as a meniscus repair revealed a deeper problem. Surgeons found the cartilage on his femoral condyle was gone, leaving bone grinding on bone. For most athletes, this diagnosis would mean a long recovery. For a goaltender, it meant something else entirely. Each attempt to return, skating, pushing side to side, dropping into the butterfly, triggered swelling that refused to subside. The pattern was relentless. Skate, swell, rest, repeat. Every cycle left less hope. Orthopedic specialists describe goaltending as the ultimate stress test for a knee. The butterfly drop, lateral pushes, and quick recoveries demand shock absorption that only healthy cartilage can provide. When that layer is gone, even a single practice can cause the joint to lock up. Price's medical team debated options: OATS procedures, microfracture, biologics. Each carried long odds and no promise of restoring elite movement. The risk was not just about hockey. It was about preserving his ability to walk, to play with his kids, to live without chronic pain. In the end, every comeback attempt ended at the same wall, a knee that could no longer support the mechanics that once set him apart. On October 7th, 2021, Carey Price stepped away from the Canadiens and entered the NHL and NHLPA Player Assistance Program. Official statements were brief. The reason, at first, was private. Behind the scenes, Price was already fighting to recover from knee surgery. Now he was also beginning a separate battle, one centered on substance use and mental health. For at least 30 days, Price focused on treatment, away from the team as required by the program's strict confidentiality. The timing left his physical rehab in limbo. Every day spent in therapy was a day lost from the gym, from the ice, from the routines that had defined his career. When Price returned to Montreal in early November 2021, he confirmed publicly that he had sought help for substance use. His wife Angela spoke of the importance of putting mental health first, especially for their children to see. Canadian staff described a careful step-by-step plan: physical therapy, solo training, and gradual reintroduction to the locker room. 2 recoveries now ran side by side, each with its own pace, each with setbacks that could stall the other. Price's absence became more than a medical note. It was a reminder that the hardest comebacks aren't always visible, and that even the best goaltenders sometimes need help beyond the rink. In April 2022, Carey Price made one final push to reclaim his place in the NHL net. Over 5 games, he posted a .878 save percentage, a far cry from his prime, but still a testament to his instincts and anticipation. Each outing revealed the same pattern: sharp reads, flashes of vintage patience, but swelling and pain that returned after every skate. Price spoke openly about the reality he faced, saying he would not chase surgeries with little hope of restoring full function. The difference was clear. He could still win a night, but not win the grind of an NHL season. With no medical clearance on the horizon, Price remained on long-term injured reserve. For Montreal, his contract became a tool for cap relief, freeing up $10.5 million in annual space, but leaving his career in a kind of roster limbo. On September 5th, 2025, that limbo ended on paper. Montreal traded Price's contract and a 2026 fifth-round pick to San Jose for defense prospect Gannon LaRocque. There were no illusions. Price waived his no-move clause, publicly confirmed he was not returning, and thanked fans for their support. The Canadiens' general manager described the move as a necessary business decision, closing the book on an era. In the end, the final chapter for one of hockey's best goaltenders was not written on the ice, but in the ledger. Today, Carey Price's career exists as a ledger entry, his body's limits written into the Canadiens' future. In a league where human fragility meets relentless demand, even legends disappear without warning. The question is not how greatness ends, but whether we ever see it coming before it's gone.